babe, sometimes you gotta evaluate the words that are coming out of your mouth. Like, is it giving bitter? Because when your words are alluding to something, you gotta check your heart, because everything flows from the heart, and we are diving in that in today's video. But before we do, welcome in or welcome back if this is your first time here. My name is Taylor and I make videos on practical faith, practicing self-love, and preserving your temple. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to let me know. You can even leave your thoughts below. And now, without further ado, let's get into what you came here for. Do your words reveal bitterness? Because, ooh, child, trust me, I could relate. This ate me up. Shall we get into it? We are going to find the answers to our questions in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31. I'm going to start by reading the scripture, and then I'm going to break down what it actually means, and then we're going to get into the practical life lessons that would apply to your life today. I only have 3 lessons for you today, friends, so if you are ready to learn, stay tuned. And now, without further ado, shall we get started? I think so. Join me, friends, in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31, where it reads, "Let all bitterness, anger, and wrath, shouting and slander be removed from you, along with all malice." All right, Paul, what are you talking about today? Now, I will be reading from my notes, because if I try to do this from memory, I am gonna mess it up. You're welcome. Okay, what is Paul talking about? Paul warns that we must guard our hearts from bitterness, rage, anger, clamor, slander, and malice, because these attitudes do not belong in the life of a believer. These behaviors are fueled by malice in the heart, a condition where your heart literally desires to do evil and cause harm to others. Bitterness is resentment or hostility that settles into the heart when anger is held onto instead of released, often because you feel you were treated unfairly. That bitterness in your heart can grow and begin to influence your emotions. The bitterness and malice in the heart are what lead to big emotions like wrath and anger. Anger is more like a slow burning, long lasting hostility that can cause a person to become cold or unfriendly. Wrath or rage, on the other hand, is when that anger hits the fan and you explode in an emotional outburst. Paul is drawing a connection between these heart postures and the behaviors that follow. Clamor is when anger becomes loud and you start shouting or raising your voice. And slander is when anger moves into your speech and you begin tearing someone down by insulting them or attacking their character. Behaving in these ways is not reflective of Christ, which is why Paul commands believers to remove these attitudes from their lives the same way someone removes trash from their house completely and permanently. Period. All right, now let's get into the practical life lessons that we can use to actually apply to our life today. Like, how are we supposed to make sense of this, right? Now that he done read us for filth and told us what not to do. Starting with number 1, deal with issues at the heart level. Destructive behaviors always start in the heart before they show up in actions or words. So guard your heart and pay attention to what you allow to live in there. It all comes down to, what story are you telling yourself? When something happens, do you tell yourself a story that causes you to be angry and causes you to start feeling resentment and hostile towards other people, and then you need to act on that, you need to get your lick back? Or do you tell yourself a story that helps reframe your mind and makes it easy for you to move on, right? Like, you have to deal with issues on your heart. You have to protect your heart and guard your heart so that those things don't settle in there, because everything's going to flow from there. If you allow that stuff to seep in there, you're just going to live a bitter life and be a bitter person. You're going to be one of those grumpy adults that everyone looks at and says, you got a bad attitude. You don't want to be that. You do not want to be that. So literally, I say, what story do you tell yourself? Because you can reframe anything to work in your benefit, right? Like, for example, I've already spoken on my channel about how my job did me dirty, right? And you know what story I tell myself? I tell myself it's all a part of my testimony, and it's going to be a great testimony. And when I use that, when I think of it that way, I know that the Lord can use everything for good and everything for my benefit. So I know that he could be using that to form me into someone I would have never been if I didn't go through what I went through. And it actually has, because I've learned new skills. I've learned different ways to communicate by going through these different situations. So it's all about, what story do you tell yourself that protects you from bitterness? Because I could be bitter. I could be at work all the time feeling bitter. I don't. I still show up pretty light, but keep everyone at a distance. I don't trust none of y'all hoes. What does that mean? I'm supposed to be watching my mouth. I literally just made a video on that. Forgive me. See, I'm a human. All right, let's get into the next lesson, because now I'm talking too much. Unresolved hurt can turn into explosive anger, okay? Bitterness usually starts from your feelings being hurt. Maybe you felt betrayed, overlooked, disrespected, or treated unfairly. Process and release those feelings, because it can grow into anger. It's very popular for people to just ignore their feelings and numb themselves. Like, they don't want to deal with something that actually hurt their feelings, or they don't want to admit something actually hurt them, because they got to keep up the facade that they're all cool and they have this aesthetic and no one gets to them. Da, 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 da. You're doing yourself a disservice. Listen, that is not healthy, to push things down and act like it doesn't bother you, because all it's going to do is boil up to the surface eventually, and you're going to have an emotional outburst that you can't come back from. So your best bet is to find healthy outlets to process what you're going through. I'll give you a few of mine, how I resolve hurt. First things first, silence. I need to be by myself. I need to be alone. I don't want to be in the company of other people, especially whoever just pissed me off. I need distance, and I need to be by myself so I can recharge and so I could get back right. And I need to speak to the Lord, and I need to figure out which word in this good book is going to make me feel better. That's what I need to do. That's a healthy outlet for me. You know what's also a healthy outlet for me? Journaling, which is why I encourage you to join my Self-Love Saturday series every Saturday morning. But journaling is so powerful, especially when you take a tangible pen and a tangible notebook and you get that stuff. I'm telling you, the emotional release when you get it out. And the best thing about journaling is no one needs to see it. So you can, if someone pissed you off and you need to read them for filth, read them for filth in a journal that they're never going to see. Get all that energy out. I bet you'll show up different, because you done already got it out. And now you can go about your life because you got it out. When you keep it in, it's just in there. It's just in there, and it's going to start affecting the rest of you. So find healthy outlets. Maybe you're a runner. Some people, when they're really angry, they need to run. And you know what? Some form of exercise is really good for getting out emotions, like especially bad ones, sad ones. Exercise really helps get that out. I promise you, it's the last thing you want to do when you're upset, but it has such a big impact. I would not steer you astray, I promise. So get into that. Find a healthy outlet to process your emotions, and you will be a-okay, all right? Let's get into the last lesson. Uncontrolled anger turns into weapons. Unchecked anger usually turns into yelling and berating, which damages relationships, okay? When you are hurt about something, you're mad about something, you're wounded by something, maybe you do feel betrayed, maybe you do feel like you was disrespected, maybe you do feel like you was overlooked or treated unfairly. When you don't address those emotions, because those are valid emotions, those are real emotions, and you should process them properly. But if you ignore them, numb them, and try to act like they don't exist, and you just stuff them down, they do become weapons. Because eventually stuff's gonna hit the fan. Eventually there's gonna be a feather that breaks the camel's back, and you gonna let everything out. And then your response to something small probably is gonna be way more than it ever should have been. Or if you have imagine you have a partner, you have a boyfriend. If you're a guy watching, you have a girlfriend, you have a partner, and imagine they just keep doing these little things that really piss you off, but you're like, I'm just gonna let it be. I don't wanna nag. I don't wanna do this. I'm just gonna keep it to myself. And you know what? They get to the 50th thing that really pisses you off, and you erupt. And maybe that 50th thing was they left a paper towel on the floor. But you have already had so much resentment building up that one feather broke the camel's back, and you just let it loose. And now he's looking at you like, are you well? Like, and maybe you said some things that now causes that relationship to end because you done said some things that you can't come back from. It's just better to address things as they happen and have a healthy outlet for processing your emotions as things are happening in real time, so that you never get to the place where you just have to explode, okay? We want to avoid that. We want to do preventative maintenance, okay? Preventative maintenance. So again, highly recommend you join my self-love Saturday videos every Saturday, and we already got like 13 or 14 of them. So you got a backlog to catch up on if you haven't tuned in already. I promise they'll be helpful. Journaling is a game changer. I promise. Whew. What did we learn in today's video? Destructive words don't start with the mouth. They start with an unguarded heart. You have to protect your heart against all costs. Protecting your heart looks like processing your emotions so that bitterness can't seep in. Protecting your heart means like setting boundaries so you're not around people that are gonna make you angry or make you start feeling a certain way, or that are constantly doing things to you to corrupt your heart. Boundaries, healthy outlet. Guard your heart and don't let bitterness seep in there, okay? Got to protect yourself above anything else, okay? That is it for today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the girl a like and comment and subscribe. Support the channel. Let me know that you appreciate this content. It really does encourage me to keep going. So don't be afraid to give me a little like-a-roo or a comment too, and subscribe if you haven't already, boo. I'm a rapper. If you are interested in buying a 2026 faith-based affirmational calendar or this beautiful Drink the Living Water cup that comes in 5 different colors, feel free to take a gander to my Etsy shop. It is linked in the description below. I hope to see you in our next lesson. I drop a lesson every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. as we are tiptoeing through Ephesians. And when we're done with Ephesians, we're going to Galatians. So if you are interested and this helps you, please stay tuned for the rest of the videos. On Saturdays, you know I told you I do my self-love Saturday videos where I help you boost your self-love so that you can love other people. You can't love no one more than you love yourself, okay? And on Sundays, I drop videos where I'm documenting my calisthenics journey. I'm showing you how I am stewarding this body, and I am having some humbling beginnings, but it is okay because you can do it with me, babe. You can do it with me. And that is it for today's video. I thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening to this lesson all the way through. I really appreciate you. Go ahead and leave a heart in the comments along with your other comments if you made it this far, because you are a real one and I appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Bye.